Alright, so today is Cartoon Network's 25th anniversary. They released a couple of bumpers. I've only seen the one on Twitter and the one that was like a minute and a half video that somebody uploaded, but I haven't seen it on the network itself, because I had Cartoon Network playing, and I'm not sure if I just wasn't paying attention, but I haven't really caught it yet. Cartoon Network's Twitter implied that they're going to be celebrating all week rather than just today, because they said birthday more like birthday week, but as we can see by the current schedule, there's not really anything special planned. If it is just these bumpers, I guess I am kinda fine with that, though I do kinda prefer the 20th anniversary bumper that included a lot more cartoons. These new bumpers for the 25th anniversary seem to include mainly their original programming. The only exception is characters from Teen Titans Go, such as Beast Boy, Robin, and Starfire. Since Teen Titans Go is an acquired program, it's not completely original from Cartoon Network. Though I did like the little sequence between Jake and Beast Boy, I thought that was cute. So for my personal celebration of the 25th anniversary, I thought I would tell you my experience with Cartoon Network growing up. I didn't have the channel to begin with. I didn't even have cable in the early 90s. It wasn't until my family moved where we got cable, and unfortunately Cartoon Network wasn't part of the package. But my cousin, who lived down the street, had Cartoon Network because he had satellite. So whenever I would go over there, I would tune into that station to watch it because I thought it was amazing that there was a network that had cartoons 24/7. And mostly, at the time, all they showed was the Hanna-Barbera cartoons they had. Eventually, it did get to the point where they had the original programming, such as Dexter, one of their first original programs, and I loved that show. Then, of course, with What a Cartoon, there was a bunch of these pilots of new cartoons. And there was this big explosion of creativity and the cartoons coming out. Since we didn't have Cartoon Network as part of our cable package, I would really want to go to my cousin's house so I could watch these new cartoons. Nickelodeon still had some great cartoons at the time as well, but I really liked Cartoon Network's cartoons. I guess you kinda like more what you can't have, and Cartoon Network was something that I couldn't have, but I really wanted it. So I would go to my cousin's house practically every weekend to spend the night and watch Cartoon Fridays. Eventually, I would be able to watch Cartoon Network whenever I wanted, though, because after my parents' divorce, I went to go live with my mom, and the cable we got there had Cartoon Network. So from about 1999 to 2002, my TV was always tuned into Cartoon Network. It was pretty much the only channel I would watch, with occasionally me watching Animal Planet or Discovery, back when those channels actually had something to offer. But then after a while I moved back in with my dad, and unfortunately the cable company we had still didn't have Cartoon Network, so I was stuck with Nickelodeon again. Fortunately, Nickelodeon hadn't gone that downhill yet. And there were still a lot of great cartoons to watch and new ones coming out, like My Life as a Teenage Robot, which I've recently been rewatching, and I really like it. Probably because it reminds me so much of what a cartoon is. And Rob Renzetti made it, and he worked on a couple of cartoons. But then after that, my mom moved to California, so I went to move into her for a while, then I came back to North Carolina. So there was a big span of, like, between 2004 to 2007, I just wasn't watching TV. So the CN City era that a lot of people talk about, I was never a part of because I never really watched TV that much during that time. However, when I did move back into North Carolina, our cable company actually had Cartoon Network now. So I started watching it and getting back into animation and cartoons a lot more. This was around the time Foster's Imaginary Friends was about to end, and Chowder and Flapjack were about to air. And Chowder and Flapjack were cartoons that I really enjoyed and I thought they were very funny. But then of course the CN Real era happened, and that was just a disaster. And that was also the time where Johnny Test was rerunning a lot. I compare it similar to the situation we're in now with Teen Titans Go running a lot. It even feels similar because of the way the Flash animation is. But then I started looking into pilots and watching them online, and I came across the ones for Adventure Time and Regular Show. That's when I knew there was like an era about to start of new cartoons, and thankfully it did. The early 2010s was really great for new cartoons. I loved Adventure Time and Regular Show, and I recently got back into Adventure Time, and I love it more than ever. Eventually, we got a lot more cartoons like Gumball and Steven Universe and We Bare Bears. For how often people criticize Cartoon Network, it's still given us a ton of great cartoons, and have allowed creators to make some really amazing things. A lot of my favorite cartoons are from the network, including my #1 favorite cartoon, the Powerpuff Girls. There is a reason people criticize Cartoon Network because they know that it can be really great. And when it's not that great, people want it to be greater. Still, I do have optimism for the future of the network, even if it does become some kind of weird streaming thing. Because cable will probably eventually die out, just not this decade. Maybe at the end of next decade, but not now. Actually, that's an interesting question. If Cartoon Network became a strictly streaming service, would you subscribe to it? Including all of its back catalog with the acquired content and all of its original programming. Let me know in this little YouTube poll thing I'll set up. So happy birthday to Cartoon Network, and hopefully there'll be another 25 years, maybe? I'm not sure if cable will last that long, but maybe in some form, Cartoon Network will stay around. Tell me your experience with Cartoon Network in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, by now we're getting a bit used to winter. We're like soldiers in the middle of a campaign, growing hardened to discomfort and better able to take it.